The national media needs to accept that Ole Miss is a title contender. Simple as that.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm Stephen Willis, a former staff member at Ole Miss and a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports. Today on the show, we talk about the national media and how they seem high on Ole Miss, but they always hedge their predictions with something because they kind of see that it could happen, but they can't quite make the decision to commit. And that's fine. We talk about Princely Umanmielen and why he is a PFF pass rushing favorite nationally. And now that the dust is settling, I give my opinion on the Andrew Fisher and Liam Doyle changing course and entering the portal. This is the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first and listen every day, and a special hello to the everydayers that make the show what it is. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Really interesting stuff going on right now. And all over the course of this offseason, starting back with the early transfer portal window when Ole Miss started landing Princely Umanmielen and Walter Nolen and Chris Paul and Juice Wells and those guys, Ole Miss shot up the rankings preseason. Those way too early rankings, Ole Miss was somewhere around 5th or 6th nationally. And all the pundits were talking very highly about what Ole Miss could do. And they were right to do that because this roster that Ole Miss has put together is one of the better rosters in the entire country. But as the season has gotten closer, those same national pundits, all of a sudden you see Alabama moving up the charts. You see Notre Dame moving up the charts. Those blue blood programs that we always see in these preseason rankings, they're kind of going into form and ending up where they're going to end up. I think that it's just a situation to where these blue blood programs, there's a safety net. There's a safety net with those programs, and the national analysts realize, hey, I can do this, and if they are good, I have a good chance of being right. Because this is the thing when it comes to the media, and I will say this and nobody else will. It's all a probability gambit. Whenever you're in a situation to where reporting negative news and negative opinions is more probable of happening than positive opinions, that's the one you're going to go with. You're going to go with whatever is the closest and the best chance of being right. That's what you're going to do. There's nobody that is on here that is 100% true to themselves. They are all completely one way or another playing towards the ratings. That is the way talk radio and podcast and stuff like that work. It is all about playing to that. It is hard to be real. So whenever I say things that others don't say, it's just because I'm not beholden to those type things. And I'm completely independent, and it allows me to say some things and do some things that may not be the probability of happening. But hey, we will see. But that is the reason the national media is changing over and over. And I get it. This is going to be a huge expectations year for Lane Kiffin. The Lane Kiffin expectations are going to be massive. It is probably the toughest job for Ole Miss this season is with handling expectations because they're not going to stop. People like me and the national media and everybody, Paul Feinbaum, everybody's going to talk about how great Ole Miss could be. They won't pick them to win a title, but they'll pick them to be good. They'll pick them to be plucky. And they'll talk about that over and over and over again. And the players have heard that. And you heard Jackson Dart at the Manning Passing Academy over the last weekend to where he said, hey, it's essentially a national championship. We are all in for the national title. And they're working out to win the national title. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am so glad that that is happening in my lifetime that I just can't explain it. But the national media, they think Ole Miss is going to be good, but probability says they're probably not going to be good enough. So we're going to just kind of put them in that 5-6 range to where, hey, if they were really good, we had them 5th or 6th, but we don't think they're going to actually win the national title. I think they can win the national title. This is one of the best rosters in the entire country. You have a third-year starting quarterback in Jackson Dart, who last year had a great year, 233 for 358, 3,364 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And he is a third-year starting quarterback for Lane Kiffin, which is the greatest of unicorns in all of college football. And he's throwing to Trey Harris, who is potentially the best wide receiver in all of college football. If you ask Shay Hodge, he thinks this might be the best wide receiver on Ole Miss's football team next year, and Deion Smith. Shay Hodge trains Deion, by the way. Jordan Watkins was the Mr. Reliable of last year, and ho-hum, we have Juice Wells on the roster as well, who came into last season as potentially the top wide receiver in the whole SEC, and the PFF article just came out to where they compared him to Dez Bryant. This wide receiver room is special. And when you look at tight end, I think the offensive MVP of the Peach Bowl was Caden Prescorn. He had 10 catches, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion, and almost brought in a transfer in Daquan Wright, who honestly is more of a plus wide receiver than a tight end, but he is a better blocker than, say, Evan Ingram was when he was at Ole Miss as well. We'll see how it goes, but this roster has a chance to be special, and the national media sees that this roster has a chance to be special. They just need to accept. They just need to accept that this Ole Miss team has every position intact, ready to go, that can make a championship run. Now, does that mean they will? No. I'm saying they just need to put them in and accept the fact that they're a championship title contender. They have a realistic shot of getting there. That doesn't mean they will. That they just have a realistic shot of getting there. And if they do that, everything else will fall into place, because I've told y'all multiple times recording this summer, there's 2 types of people that are going to cover this football season for Ole Miss. And depending on how they cover it and depending on what their opinions are, well, it will depend on one question. And that question is, can Ole Miss win it all? That is the question. The question is, can Ole Miss win it all? If the answer is yes, you're going to have a completely different take of what's happening. If the answer is no, you're going to have a completely different take of what's happening. It's going to be the same thing that's happening, but you're going to see 2 different things play out on opinions out there. It should be pretty interesting, honestly. Ole Miss is opening with Furman in less than 2 months. Thank goodness. Less than 2 months. And should be pretty good. Anyway, thanks to everyone last night for the meet and greet. I'm recording this before the meet and greet, so I can't do anything about that. I've got 2 episodes I have to record today because tomorrow is my mom's birthday and I want to hang out with her. So bear with me. I am going to talk about the meet and greet and what went on, and I'm going to do some shorts from it, and I'm going to generally handle it. But thank you very much for whoever attended. Like I said, I haven't seen yet, but I'm very excited for what can happen. But like I said, I had to record 2 episodes early today, and then tomorrow I'm talking with Brian Smith, who will be on Friday's show. So this week's show, we're not necessarily going to talk about the meet and greet, but I am going to try and do one when I get back to Florida Saturday on the meet and greet and what went on. So just not ignoring y'all, just kind of letting you know what's going on. Should be pretty interesting. Thanks again for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day. Princely Umanmielen is loved by PFF, and we tell you why. Game day is the place to get your MLB tickets. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee. You know, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying those MLB tickets. The views from the seats, no matter what the venue, that is so fantastic. I used it to find a place to where I can see that sweet, sweet left-handed swing in a Tigers versus Tampa Bay Rays game in April. They have the lowest price guarantee. They have event cancellation protection, job loss protection. Basically, their suite of customer service things is pretty top notch. So take the guesswork out of buying those tickets. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you each and every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, news, and opinions streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All right, so it's really interesting. Max Chadwick put out an article talking about the best pass rusher potentially in the entire country, and he talked about Princely Umanmielen. And he genuinely loves Princely Umanmielen. He thinks he's a mid-first round level player on a defensive line for Ole Miss that has a chance to be really, really good. Princely Umanmielen and his pressure rate, his sack rate, his havoc rate are all very, very impressive. PFF is a very advanced stats type organization whenever they look at teams. Princely Umanmielen came from Florida, okay? Florida Gators had 39 tackles, 11 and a half tackles for loss, 7 sacks for the Gators a year ago. And he decided to transfer away and come to Ole Miss and not go to the NFL. A lot of people thought that he was going to go to the NFL this year, but he decided to come to Ole Miss because basically Walker Jones and the Grove Collective is awesome. You have a situation with him where he has a chance to be really good. And this is something that everybody doesn't understand at the moment. He has a chance to have the best defensive line that he's ever played on this Ole Miss team. And I know that's weird to think of. This Ole Miss defense has a chance to be special, but Princely has a chance to benefit from the fact that in the middle will be Walter Nolen, a former number 1 player in the country who kind of showed out a little bit at Texas A&M a year ago, and JJ Pegues, who is going from being the top option on the defensive line to being the third option, which means that defensive line is going to be pretty good. And then you have Jared Ivey, who's no slouch himself. That top 4 has a chance to be really, really good. And I've talked all the time about how Ole Miss's goal this year should be for JJ Pegues and Walter Nolen to demand double teams. That should be their goal. Make it to where Princely Umanmielen and Jared Ivey are on single coverage and they have to keep a tight end to block. If you do that, you're going to get home more times than not. The interior defensive linemen are so key in a modern day football. Walter Nolen is going to be so key. JJ Pegues, key. Xavion Harris, Akello Stone. Those players in the middle of the defense are going to be key. And they're going to make Princely Umanmielen even a better player. And if you look at him in his pass rush moves, he has like the bend going around the corner of almost honestly a ballerina. He's extremely flexible. He's extremely quick. He's extremely quick twitch. And whenever that happens, it's going to be trouble for whatever tackle or tight end or running back you're lining up on him. So Max Chadwick from PFF saw all of this and rated him as one of the better pass rushers in the entire country. And it's hard to argue that. It's a situation where Ole Miss's defense this year is going to be better. Listen, Pete Golding constructed Ole Miss's defense differently this year. He can deny it. They all can deny it. Everybody can deny it, but it's true. And what I mean by that is they decided to play the havoc game this year. Now, they tried to do it a little bit a year ago. But they are going to be very big play centric in 2024. They just are. And with the offense that Ole Miss has, the object is to get the ball back for them. If they get the ball back twice, it could be a 21-point deficit for the other team. So explosives, getting the ball back quickly, that is going to be the game they play. And they did that through Walter Nolen and Princely Umanmielen and all that, making the defensive line into a havoc unit. You even have the Peach Bowl defensive MVP over at the strong side defensive end. And then they brought in man-to-man coverage corners on the outside that are good, like legitimately good, in Trey Amos and Isaiah Hamilton. Ball hawks that have played corner with ball skills to line up in the safety positions, both of them. And the free safety, like Trey Washington, he's just a good player. He's proved that he is a good player. So Ole Miss's defense is set up for havoc. They're set up for sacks. They're set up for lost yards. They're set up for turnovers. And a lot of that is going to be on Princely Umanmielen. And PFF knows that. PFF can see that. They can see that Ole Miss is trying to set it up for havoc because havoc is an analytic that they follow. And they are going to try and make play after play after play. And Princely Umanmielen, potentially, he could have 7 to 10 sacks. He could have a Greg Hardy type season for Ole Miss football. The question is, can Walter Nolen have a Parade Jerry type season? And because I think this defensive line has a chance to be better than the 2008 defensive line. I just genuinely do. But we will see exactly how it goes. Now, let's talk Walter Nolen real quick before we get out of here. Transfer from Texas A&M. 37 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks from the defensive line position. He's originally from Olive Branch. I think he moved to Knoxville because everybody thought he was going to Tennessee. I think his parents even thought he was going to Tennessee, and all of a sudden there was incentive to go to Texas A&M. And he went to Texas A&M, and it just grown and grown and grown, and that defense got pretty good over the course of the year. And him and JJ Pegues are going to be monsters in the interior of the defense. Like I said, I'm going to say this again. I know this, I say this over and over again, but the goal is to do what Alabama and Georgia does. Whenever you can do this, your defense is going to be pretty good. And that is having the 2 interior defensive linemen demanding double teams. Both of them can beat double teams, but if you can make that happen, and Princely Umanmielen and Jared Ivey are all on single coverage, one-on-one blocking, they have a really good chance of getting home and winning. And whenever that happens, the quarterback's going to have less time to throw the ball. With the man coverage corners, they're going to have more of a blanket, tighter window to try and force the ball into. College quarterbacks make mistakes. Interceptions happen. You have ball hawks at the safety position to make plays. You can see how it's all set up for this defense to be an extremely havoc-producing unit. And honestly, it starts with Princely Umanmielen, somebody that is going to be that feared on the edge. With that much respect, it is going to be up to him to get it all started. And it should be really cool. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen. What is going on with baseball, and what is the end game? Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows that cover every single league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Be part of history. And also, there's still time to join the Grove Collective and help Ole Miss football be elite. You can go to thegrovecollective.com and join today. So, interesting stuff, right? Something's been going on with baseball, and something's been going on for baseball for about a month now. But after Andrew Fisher put out his tweet, is like, I'm coming back. Yeah. And Liam Dole put his tweet out, I'm coming back. Yeah. Both of them are gone. Both of them are in the transfer portal. They are gone, which leads to a couple of things. Now, first of all, Walker Jones pointed out that tampering is a problem, and tampering is a problem, by the way. Now, just because everybody does it does not mean it's not a problem, and does not mean the tweet is remotely true. But it's an interesting situation. The rumor is that a certain SEC team paid both of them to basically enter the transfer portal. So it's very dirty. And some schools have reputations of doing that, and some schools, it is what it is. But this is a situation. In 2025, it was always going to be a struggle for Mike Bianco if he was retained. If he wasn't retained, Ole Miss was going to be going through the same thing anyway. It is going to be up for Mike Bianco to have the wherewithal to put together a roster that's at least pretty good, that you can compete with, so you can make a regional. Because if Ole Miss doesn't make a regional next year, Mike Bianco is gone. The 25th year will be his last, period. And losing an Andrew Fisher and losing a Liam Doyle, that hurts. Those are your two big guns. And there's no way to sugarcoat what is going on. But this was going to happen potentially regardless, because they would have left anyway if Mike Bianco would have been fired, and other people coming in to where it is. It was just going to happen. So it's going to be up to Mike Bianco to put together a roster in 2025 that is regional worthy. I don't care if it's 3-seed regional worthy. I just want a regional. That is the question when it comes to Ole Miss baseball, is a regional. If it doesn't happen, he is going to be let go, and they're going to bring a new coach in. That's the way this works. And we'll start the build. Now, I know that there are some Ole Miss fans that really, really like baseball, and they're hugely supportive of the baseball program and all of that stuff. I get all of that. But the number one sport on campus by a huge margin is football. Like 85% of the fan base is football fans only. Analytically, that's what it looks like. Now, you do have a small group that is basketball, baseball, and then you got an even smaller group that's everything. And they're really loud and good for them. But at least this is happening in baseball and not football. Because in this era of what's going on, a down football program means that all of your NIL is going to be down. Basketball is going to be down. Baseball is going to be down. Down baseball program, yeah, you're probably going to lose a little bit of baseball, but football is not going to be affected. Honestly, basketball is not going to be affected. So we'll see exactly how it goes. Now, am I saying that it doesn't need to get better? No, that's not what I'm saying. It does need to get better. I'm saying that we're not at burn the boats area of around baseball right now, because football is driving the ship. And football is the important thing on campus. Remember, Ole Miss is not in a position to where it can be a win everything. It cannot afford in this NIL era to be an everything school. It can't. You might want to think that, you might want to say that, you might want to brag to other people about it, but there are very few programs in this country that can be an everything school. Like Texas can be an everything school. A&M can be an everything school. But Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, even Tennessee to a certain extent, Florida, they struggle with everything. Whenever you are really, really functioning at a high level at something, that means something else is going to suffer. So keep that in mind a little bit. I'm not saying that don't try to fix it. I'm not saying that. I am saying don't throw money, bad money after bad money. I think if this is going to be a money game moving forward, it needs to be a money game that's done in a correct way. And I think we are. And we have good people like Walker Jones running the Grove Collective and Keith Carter running the athletic department. And I think that should make everybody happy. But when it comes to baseball, when it comes to Andrew Fisher, and when it comes to Liam Doyle hitting the transfer portal, like I said, it is a bad day for Ole Miss baseball. But I don't know if it's a bad day for the Ole Miss athletic department. Realistically, like I said, they need to fix whatever they're going to fix, but we'll see what happens. Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen. We have the most perspective surrounding Ole Miss sports, and it's one of the many reasons why we are the number one podcast, and thank you for that. But for your second listen, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows that cover every single league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV Channels app. And for those of you on YouTube, we are going to send you there right now. Howdy toddy, everyone.